Would everyone either please take a seat or move out to the sides so the people in the center will be able to see? We'd like to start the ceremony. You know, we built the interchange on time. We'd like to do this party on time. Can't you? Could I have your attention, please? Would everyone please take a seat? And if you don't have a seat, we apologize, but please move to each side. We'd like to get started. My name is Darrell Barger. I'm the director of the Butler County Transportation Improvement District, and it's indeed my honor and pleasure to have everybody here today for the dedication of this project. Okay, thank you. Before we begin today, I would like to ask Reverend Gary Shirk of the Cornerstone Church to come up and offer an invocation for the people that have built this project and the people that will use it in the future.
In the book of Isaiah, God offers a symbolic phrase to describe a season of favor and blessing that is coming for the nation of Israel. That phrase goes like this: I will turn all my mountains into roads, and my highways will be raised up. Let's pray together that God uses this highway as a gateway of blessing for our community. Lord God, in this season of Thanksgiving, we are grateful today for this new opportunity that has come before our community. We thank you for those in our leadership, both government and private, those who actually worked the construction of this roadway, that you have allowed them to work together effectively and efficiently to bring this project to fruition. We would ask, God, that this would be a gateway of opportunity to the Westchester Union Township area. We pray that the commerce and the safety and the convenience created by this interchange will bring prosperity to this community. Along with the prosperity, Lord God, I ask that you would give us wise and loving hearts so that we would understand to extend this prosperity to even the neediest among us. That it would not be the benefit of just a few, but to the benefit of all that this project serves. We trust, God, that those who travel this interchange will travel it in safety and find your mercy here. And so, God, to this end, we commend this day, these ceremonies, and this piece of property to your service in your hands. In Jesus' name, amen.
I'd like to, before we start, I'd like to thank the Lakota West Marching Band and the Lakota East Choir, who will perform immediately after the ceremony, for being here today to help us with the event. And there are two additional items of business. For the members of the media, all the speakers will be available for questions immediately following the ribbon cutting, probably in this general area right over here. And following Commissioner Fox's comments, we'll ask the crowd and the speakers to exit on either side of the podium to cut the ribbon across the bridge to officially open the interchange. Once again, I want to welcome you. This project represents tremendous cooperation by a great number of people at every level, almost beyond one's imagination. The TID, Schumacher-Dugan, John R. Jurgensen, Union Township decided last year when we first did the groundbreaking that we had to have a celebration when we opened this project because so many people have worked so many years to do it. The project management team, and I'm going to read off some organizations. I'm not going to read names of individual people, but I just want to give you a sense of how many different people were involved over the years. The project management team was led by David Gully, who's both the administrator of Union Township and is the committee chairman for this project. Has dedicated himself ever since he came to Union Township to this project, and I know he worked as many hours on this project as he did as his full-time job running the township, and deserves an unbelievable debt of gratitude from all of us for getting this job done. Schumacher-Dugan Construction, who came to the party early with money. They contributed over $4.5 million plus the right-of-way to the construction of the part of the roads in this project here. The OKI, Dotson Lindblom Associates, which did the environmental work, URS, which did the design work, and the Butler County Commissioners, Fairfield City Council, Hamilton City Council, Liberty Township Trustees, Fairfield Township Trustees, all of who led financial support and political support to keep the project moving, as well as Season Good and Mayer, our investment bankers, and Kegler, Brown, Hill, and Ritter, who did our legal work for us. The construction team consisted of John R. Jurgensen and Company, with Jim Jurgensen, the president, and Chris Coons, the project manager. Major subcontractors were S&K Construction, C.J. Mahan, Wagner Smith, and FSM. ME Companies and Interchange Incorporated provided design review and project management services. The Butler County Engineers Office, they deserve a special debt of gratitude for the construction management work they did in keeping the project on schedule. That team consisted primarily of Dean Foster himself, Scott Harris, Greg Wilkins, Kevin Barrows, and Mark Jennings. And some of those guys were here 12 to 14 hours a day, every day, to make sure this project stayed on schedule. Additionally, the Ohio Department of Transportation, even though there's no state or federal money in this project, we're a partner every step of the way in the construction of this project. There's no way we could have done this either as well as we did it or in the time frame we did it without their cooperation. And the Federal Highway Administration, and I'm not sure if they're represented here today, who supported us in terms of the various approvals that we had to go through and the design reviews and that type of thing. Last but not least, I want to mention the TID staff and the board, starting with Chairman Michael Fox, who dreamed up the vehicle that we used to get here today. The board members from Hamilton are Mike Samavisky, Jeff Weber, and James Blount. From Union Township are Dave Gully and Kirk Hobbs. From the county are Ron Reynolds and Ed Shelton. From Liberty Township, our former member who just left, Jeff Jones, and our new member, Bob Faxon. Fairfield Township is represented by Barney Landry. The Butler County Engineers Office is represented by Dean Foster. The City of Fairfield is represented by Wendell Judd and Don Hassler. And OKI is represented by Rick Bailey. When you take each of those organizations and all those individuals and multiply them by a multitude, you get just a little example of how many people had a little piece in coming together to make this project happen. At this time, I would like to ask Courtney Combs to come up. Courtney Combs is from the Butler County Commission and has been unbelievably supportive of the project. And Courtney would like to introduce the governor of the state.
Thank you, Darrell. This is truly a historic day in Butler County, Ohio. Earlier this morning, we broke ground for the Government Service Building. That was in Hamilton. And this afternoon, we're here to cut the ribbon on this interchange. The first interchange built in Southwest Ohio in over 30 years. We've been at this for a long, long time. And it's my pleasure to say that the cooperation from the federal level, the state level, county, and township level, all going together is what made this happen. It won't be long. We'll have a groundbreaking for the 129 connector. That's the other piece of this whole puzzle, as Dale was talking about. It all goes together. It works together. This community and this county works together. And for many years, we have been anticipating this moment. This is record-breaking time for the construction of an interchange. And I would like to say that we have had governors in the past who have told us that they would be here to support us. But the man I'm about to introduce put his time, effort, and told us that he would back us totally in this project. And he's been there for us from the very, very beginning. George Vornovich, who has served very well for the state of Ohio. I met George many years ago, and he probably doesn't remember this, but in Seattle, Washington, at a National League of Cities conference when he was president of the National City League in Washington. Basically, George took Cleveland and turned it around. He took the state and has brought it to where we stand today. And now, and in the future, we will support George for the Senate of the United States, and George can do his thing in Washington. But I would say that we owe a debt of gratitude to the man who made the commitment for Butler County. And I will say to you, George, Butler County will make the commitment to you when you run next year. And we will deliver strong for George Vornovich. George is a true friend. He's a friend of Butler County. And it's my extreme pleasure and honor to welcome to Butler County and to introduce to you our Governor, George Vornovich.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. Courtney, thank you so very, very much. I must tell you that I've been following this project a long time. I'm talking about the 129 Butler connector, and the first time it was talked about the Allen Road interchange. I was trying to reminisce a little bit with Courtney earlier, and I don't know whether I heard about it first from him in '88 or maybe it was from, I know in '90 I heard about it from Gary Cates, the state representative. And we tried to figure out, didn't we, Mike Fox, how do we skin the cat to get it done with the current system that we have in terms of funding highways, not only here in Ohio but in the United States. And this is a very impressive turnout of people, and I think it's representative of how important this project is to this community. And I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize your former state representative Mike Fox for the role that he has played. It's nice to see Senator Scott Nine here today, who is a great friend and been doing a good job of representing this area. And I understand also that is Greg Jolivet, the new state representative. Greg over here is here today. And Greg, they're going to be expecting the same thing from you as they've expected from some of the others. Of course, Gary Cates, and is Gene Krebs here? I don't know whether he is or not. But the fact is that you've got a great group of people that represent you in Columbus. And this is a project, from my perspective, that represents the finest in terms of cooperation in the state of Ohio. I am a big booster of the public-private partnership. I think that we can get anything done that we set our mind to if we understand that by working together we can get it done. And the interesting thing about this project is that because of the partnership, it's been completed a whole lot faster than if it was done in the traditional way. Wouldn't that be right, Jerry Ray? In that we didn't have any federal or state money in it, but we had local money in it, private money in it, and it allowed us to crank it up and get it going. Think about it. This project was designed 2 years ago, and in less than 10 months, folks, less than 10 months, we're about to cut the ribbon and officially open it up. As I said, it represents one of the finest public partnerships that I have seen in the state of Ohio. It's going to improve access, create jobs, improve the quality of life for our citizens. And, you know, it's nice to have that band out there come in Lakota and talk to the band director, and then you're going to have the choir here. This is going to have a major impact on your school system in terms of the dollars that are going to be available. And just as important for the people that are here in this community, I want you to know that just as important as this interchange is, and these 3,000 acres, the quality of the education in your school system is the most important economic development tool that you have in this community. And let's not forget it. Today, when we're bringing new people in, or we're trying to get businesses to expand in the state of Ohio, first thing they want to know about is what kind of a school system do you have? Are we going to have a workforce that's trained, or a workforce that's capable of being trained? So I just want to say highways, interchanges are important, but the most important thing in the state of Ohio is the education of our children, and it will have more to do with our future than anything else. From what I understand, we're going to have 30,000 cars that are going to use this every day. It's going to create 20,000 jobs. Listen to this, $500 million worth of economic development. Think of that, $500 million. And the fact is that it was done with $10 million from Union Township. Butler County provided $6 million. The Shoemaker Dugan Construction, a private developer, contributed about $6 million. And there's another little side of this project that we ought to think about, and we're doing this in Ohio. In the old days, a developer would come in, buy some property, start the development, they'd come to the state of Ohio and say, build a highway. And as being an old county auditor, when you built that highway, they got a windfall, you know? The value of that property just went sky high because you built the interchange. And what we're doing in Ohio, we're changing it. We're getting developers involved right in the beginning to share in the cost of it so that, yes, they'll benefit from the building of the interchange, but at the same time, they're investing in the interchange. And I think that the fact that the developer is putting $6 million into this project is a good example of what we ought to see more of in the state of Ohio. And I can tell you, there won't be an interchange built probably in this state, Jerry, and you can vouch for this. It's not going to be paid for partly or totally by the developers in the future, because that's the way we have to do things if we expect to move forward. I can't thank Mike Fox enough for the concept of the Transportation Improvement District. Mike, one of the most innovative, creative people we've had in the legislature, and that created the opportunity to put all of this together. And a lot of people are not aware of the fact that we're talking about totally about $120 million worth of development that's going to take place because of the fact that that Transportation Improvement District was put together. As I say, the old methods of funding infrastructure have gone the way of dinosaurs, and our future transportation system depends on creative and innovative funding approaches like the one that we're acknowledging today. I'd like to say this also to you, that we are faced with a crisis today in Ohio. I just want you to know that. Our infrastructure needs are tremendous. We need more money. And one of the things that Congress is going to be considering this year is a reauthorization of ICE-T. And you know, we're all talking about the fact that we've now taken care of the federal budget and that we may have a surplus. Well, I just want all of you to know that the projection in terms of balancing the budget includes the funds that are in the Highway Trust Fund. The Highway Trust Fund has masked the true size of the deficit. And we, for years, have been paying for gas tax, haven't we? Gas tax. We expect it to go for highways. It's been going to balance the federal budget. And my feeling is that we ought to get that money back in the trust fund so we can get it back into the state of Ohio and get on with these construction projects. We send them $1 billion a year, and we get back about $650 million. And so I think that that's something that we all ought to pay attention to. One of the greatest assets we have in Ohio is our location, okay? The location of the state of Ohio. But if you can't get in and you can't get out, we lose that economic development advantage that we have. And so I'm saying the next legislators and the next governor is going to have a real challenge to make sure that we have those dollars to get the job done. And I think the first thing that we ought to do is get that money in Washington back into the community work and do the most good. I have a couple of mottos that I follow. One of them is the motto that I've had since I was mayor of the city of Cleveland, and that is, together we can do it. You heard all the groups that were here, right? Huh? All of them? Working together? In too many communities, what happens is everybody wants to do their own thing. This group, the county commissioners, do this, the township trustees do this, the business community goes off and does something else. In this community, the light bulb went on, didn't it? It said, by working together, we can achieve our respective goals. We have a symbiotic relationship. The more we cooperate with each other, the more we succeed. It's like in a family. The more a family works together, the more successful that family is going to be. And I hope that today, that this gathering of people does not forget the most important thing about this project is not so much the road, but the way it came about happening, okay? The way it came about happening. And it should say to all of you that if we want to keep the area and the region growing, that it's going to take that continuing cooperation of all the segments of the community, the private and the public sector, working together to get the job done. Now, one of the things Jerry and I talked about on the way down was a little sign. We discussed it. And they're having a real problem of deciding what the sign's going to read, you know? Should it be Union Center? Should it be this or should it be that? So I did a little checking around, and I found out from a lot of people that this area is known as Westchester. Is that right? Well, the sign's going up. West Chexter, next 3 exit. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Voinovich. You know, Governor Voinovich started this whole process with people like Mike a number of years ago, and one of the things he did was appoint the current director of the Ohio Department of Transportation. And during the period of time that we were learning how to design and build roads, the director of ODOT was re-engineering ODOT to make it more efficient. And they were so patient with us. They were going through so many troubles. They were running out of money. They were trying to develop an objective way to rank projects around the Ohio, to take the politics out of that system. And they're trying to re-engineer an 8,000-man organization. And in the midst of that, we come along, blessed by our ignorance, and drive them crazy. And they never threw us out the door. They kept inviting us back. They kept working with us. And they formed a true partnership with us. And as Governor Voinovich said, we figured it out here locally, but I think we're figuring it out statewide too. So I'd like to ask Jerry Ray to come up and make a few comments about ODOT and its future.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, obviously, you don't have to sell anyone in this room on the benefits of transportation improvement districts or partnerships, public, private, state, or local. They are obviously a very valuable tool in trying to accomplish transportation infrastructure improvements. The Butler TID is a number of firsts. First of all, it's the first TID in the state of Ohio. This is the first project completed by a TID. They were the first entity in the state of Ohio to get a loan from our state infrastructure bank. And we're proud to say they're the first entity in the state of Ohio to pay back their loan. We're pleased by that. So it's not only on the cutting edge, but it's obviously a model for the rest of the state and for the rest of the nation. There are people from all over the country who are looking at what's happened here and are going to follow this example. We have some people at the Department of Transportation who are very important in the development of this project. One of them is Rex Dickey. This is a big crowd. Rex is here somewhere. He's our District 8 production administrator, and he provided technical assistance, and he took personal charge of shepherding this project through our project development process. We want to thank him for that. A fellow who's not here, his name's Tom McPherson. He's our Chief Financial Officer. And Tom, Mike is shaking his head, yes, spent many, many hours developing the agreement that became the contract between ODOT and the TID. And that agreement has become a model again for other TIDs, and Tom has now become a professional agreement writer almost, so we appreciate his effort. And Gary Joseph is here, right here in the front row. Raise your hand, Gary. Gary is our Economic Development Director at ODOT. He has been involved with this project from the beginning, and he is the administrator of our State Infrastructure Bank. And that is going to be a very valuable tool as we move ahead. As we make loans, we get those loans paid back, we recycle that money to the other communities in the state of Ohio. So a lot of people have been involved. We're particularly happy with the people of the Department of Transportation and what they've accomplished. Just one thing, Darrell, you asked me to talk about ODOT. You don't want to get me started, but I will mention one thing. Last year was the largest fiscal year in the history of the Ohio Department of Transportation in terms of production. When we talk about production, we're talking about contract work that goes on the ground in the state of Ohio. That happened with 1,300 fewer people than we had just a few years ago. So the governor likes to talk about doing more with less. We believe we're accomplishing that at the Ohio Department of Transportation. We're very proud of those people. So congratulations to everyone. We should all feel good about this day. A tip of the hat for a job well done.
The next speaker represents one of the most dedicated group of local government people I've ever dealt with, the Union Township trustees and their administration. I mean, through a whole series of trustees, not just the current three, but many, many past trustees have pushed this project and kept it moving forward. Just as importantly, they've done a masterful job of planning out the community and the other road networks that go with the interchange. They've been so visionary in their approach, and that's one of the major reasons that this interchange is going to produce so much in the way of results, because they didn't have to do this project. They wanted to make sure we didn't have to come back and do it again. So I'd like to have Tom Hayden, the president of the Union Township Trustees, come up.
Thank you, Darrell. My, what a crowd. This is a great day. Certainly want, on behalf of Union Township, the trustees, our staff, all the citizens of Union Township, welcome everyone here. Certainly, Governor Voinovich, thank you very much for making this a special day for us and sharing some thoughts with us. It was an awful wonderful thing for you to do. Thank you. There are so many people to thank. This is truly a team effort. There's an old expression that victory has many fathers, and this project certainly has many, and we could be here all day thanking the right people. But it's really absolutely true in this case. There's no one person, agency, government unit could have done this alone, but together, and I wrote these things down, Governor, I didn't steal your words, but working together, we did get it done. The innovative structure that was provided by the TID, by our legislators and our government, and I wanted to thank Mike Fox for that and being the leadership in that. This was a very unique way of doing these projects, and what may have seemed impossible to so many people has really become a reality in record time, and this bodes well for this community. Many people have shared this vision. Certainly acknowledge our friends in the private sector, Larry Schumacher and Chris Wannenberg, and those individuals that have worked just years and years on these projects. Certainly the previous trustees, I kidded one time at one of these events that, I was in office 2 months and we broke ground, and here it's 2 years and the project is done. So it's a joke, folks, it's a joke, okay. But seriously, and I've lived in this community about 16 years, and many other trustee boards have had this vision, have thought of it, have done things, particularly just in the recent past, Gary Cates and Dick Ulverson got this ball rolling, and we were able to pick it up, and we are where we are today because of the efforts of just a lot of people. A special thanks to the Lakota schools, the leadership of the school district, the Board of Education, has certainly, I think, has shown the wisdom and the patience to help make sacrifices really in terms of the long-term investment for this community. And I think as I sat for years as a school superintendent, I understand the depth of this commitment. And I think we should all acknowledge that the school leadership has stepped up to the plate and helped this thing happen too. Certainly thanks to my fellow trustees. Again, it's a team effort. We worked unanimously together on this project. Catherine Stoker, who is with us. Jose, I know you're here somewhere. Jose Alvarez, we unanimously supported the current funding plan, and we have stayed that course in the best interest of what's right for this community, for this region, for Butler County. One person in particular, I think deserves recognition. You've heard his name mentioned, and Dave Gully is the administrator for the township, and the trustees. We talked about this. We wanted to have some special recognition for Dave, so I would ask you to come up here, David, for just a second. We'll make a brief presentation to you. Seriously, I know the hours, the time that Dave has spent on this project, along with all the other duties that we give him as the administrator for Union Township. So from the trustees, David, in appreciation, David R. Gully, Union Township Administrator, Union Township Board of Trustees wishes to thank you for your exemplary efforts in support of the successful completion of the Union Center Boulevard interchange, November 25th, 1997. David, thank you so much. David, would you like to say a few words?
Tom said I have to give him back the microphone. At the TID meeting last week, we discussed all the thank yous that needed to go around for this project. And at that time, I told the TID board that I could name 13 people who, if they didn't do everything that they did, this interchange wouldn't be here. So I share this recognition with all the rest of those people, and thank you very much for your support.
As a memento, thank you, David. As a memento for your visit here today to the Westchester area, we would like to present the flowers with the properly labeled vase to Governor Voinovich and to Jerry Ray. I believe they are labeled Westchester. Okay, thank you very much. In closing, obviously, and it's been said and doesn't need to be repeated, we're poised here at the threshold of great opportunities. These will be great benefits to all segments of our community. It's truly a win-win-win-win proposition, no matter which segment you would look at, and not to view it as division, but as unity. We all will profit and share the merits of this project in the many years to come. Many challenges are ahead. There's much work still to be done, but I'm sure we're up to it. And I did write this down before the governor talked. Working together, we can do it. Thank you very much.
The governor recognized our legislative group a few minutes ago, and I intended to do this at this point because truly that was one of the major keys in the door. We've had a legislative group that not only individually were excellent, but as a group, they worked together supporting Mike to get the legislation through, make the various changes we needed, and keep the support that we needed at the state level for this project. I doubt seriously that any other part of the state ever had such a group of people work so closely together and so selflessly to keep something moving as these folks have the TID in these projects. But one legislator, who's no longer a legislator, now he's commissioner, he's moved on to Happy Hunting Ground, I guess, stands out especially. And for me, this is a very special situation. Mike Fox and I have been friends since we were 19 years old, and we began to argue politics and solve the problems of the world over a beer. And we continue to do that, and unfortunately the world continues to be a mess, so we're not doing as well as we'd like. Mike's truly a visionary. He's come a long, long way. He's worked very hard. In Hamilton today, we were up there doing the groundbreaking for the Government Services Center. As I stood there, I looked over and I saw the High Street underpass and thought, well, we're going to do the Government Services Center. Mike had a hand in that. He certainly had a hand in that underpass. And this afternoon, we're going to do this interchange, and he had a hand in that. It's hard to drive around this county and find something that Mike hasn't had his hands into at one time or another. And when I first took this job, somebody accused me of being a former political crony of Mike Fox. And they were only wrong about one thing. I'm a current political crony of Mike Fox. I'm proud of it. I intend to stay a friend of Mike Fox for a long time. So Mike, would you come and give us a few words?
I had no idea there were this many people here. I've been looking up here, Governor. This is wonderful. I want to start at the beginning and simply say this day is possible. The 129 Butler Regional Highway is possible because for the first time, and this is significant, for the first time in my adult lifetime, we have a governor that when he gives his word, he keeps it. George Voinovich, thank you. We have had, as Commissioner Combs said, lots of governors come through and make promises. In 1990, as candidate for governor, Governor Voinovich, Gary Cates was on the bus. We got on the bus in Middletown. We rode down to Hamilton. And I said, Governor, there's 3 projects I'd like to talk to you about. One's a new building, a conference center and classroom facility in Hamilton. One's the regional connector, and one's the Allen Road interchange. And Gary was there, and by the time we got here, the governor said, we're going to do them. He got off the campaign bus at the Realtors Hall and says, these are the projects we're going to focus on, and I thank you, we did them. That set the framework for a dream that I had that grew out of frustration that came from knowing that the federal government was not keeping their commitment to put the dollars that the governor talked about that go into the highway use fund, into highway infrastructure repair. Our state was getting shortchanged. The budgeting process was changing, and the federal government was putting less and less into this state and other states in highway development. And the message was clear that if you wanted to build a highway, we were going to have to find new and different ways to do it. And that coincided with a philosophy of a governor and an administration and director, the Department of Transportation, that was in that very process of finding new ways to do things, and as the governor said, more with less. And it was in that context that the idea of an entity that would accomplish 7 goals, public-private partnerships to be a vehicle for that, to do joint ventures and work closely together with the private sector, to operate like a business, a mission-driven organization as opposed to a process-driven organization. Innovative financing options, the same financing options that are available in the private sector, and opening up new opportunities to reach out and use resources to leverage them for the benefit of these projects. To lift the burden of regulations that had stacked one on another for years to the point where it took an average of 12 to 15 years to build a highway. When we first talked about this project, we were told at ODOT that we would probably, if lucky, get into the funding cycle by the year 2006 under the old system. And finally, an organization that was dedicated and willing to take risks and do things differently, localize the control of the management in the project, and most importantly, promote economic development. Those were the goals. What was the entity? It was the Transportation Improvement District. Right out of the book, Reinventing Government with David Osborne and Ted Gabler, that said special purpose districts need to be reorganized that have clearly defined missions and goals and objectives. And if governments are willing to do that and partner with the private sector and work in the business-like environment, good things can happen. When I broached that idea, I remember the day, Governor, I announced that in the city chambers in Hamilton. There was a whole group of local officials the day I announced that we got the TID into the budget that were there saying it wouldn't work. They were afraid of something new. There is nobody around that today says it won't work, and today is proof that it does. I share this history with you to say it was in that umbrella that these people that have been mentioned came together for a common purpose. It's been mentioned about the involvement of the local government officials. I don't know if Chuck Furman is here any place. Corky, you met earlier. My colleague, my new colleague, there's Chuck back there. The county commissioners from day one gave the support, the financial support, when we were in litigation and in court and couldn't move forward. It was only because of the county commissioners that the TID was able to move forward and keep these projects alive. We had support Kay Rogers, our county auditor, when we were just a fledgling organization trying to get the financing frameworks. Everything was a new experience was very helpful to us in setting up the system that we use to account for the funds so that there's clear public accountability to the taxpayer. The township trustees stepped up to the plate. The current ones, Jose, Catherine, Tom. Without your commitment to do the funding, it wouldn't be here. But let me tell you the guy that really bit the bullet, and I don't know if he's here anyplace, but he took a lot of grief. He's very successful. In this world, sometimes success, you know, when you're successful, people resent that. He took a lot of grief. He was a businessman that said that this project was important. It was so important to him that he gave up his interest in this project so that he could shelter himself from the attacks on his personal being. Dick Alderson. Dick Alderson was here stepping to the plate. And the guy that was at his side when that happened was my former colleague, Gary Cates. Took a lot of grief for this project because people said somebody's going to make money. Well, let me tell you, that somebody's going to make money idea is what the American dream is about. Because as our economy grows, as the governor said, this is the engine that provides the tax base for our schools. This is the engine that provides the opportunities for our children. This is the engine that provides the revenue to fund the services to help those folks that can't help themselves. And Jerry Ray, thank you. You know, I was pretty harsh on bureaucracy for a long time. And the governor appointed this fellow who had been a county engineer over in Licking County. And the governor said, no, Mike, he's going to reorganize and re-engineer and restructure. And I said, yeah, I've heard that before. And you did it. Your staff, Tom McPherson, Gary Joseph, Bob Blair, Ron Zook that used to be there, Gordon Proctor, and you go right down the line. And one guy that's no longer with you, he's up running the turnpike in, I think, New York, John Platt. John Platt was part of his dream. And at those days where the fellows, what I used to call the fellows with the green eye shades, were saying, no, we can't do that. John Platt was in the trenches, pulling it along. So I say to you, thank you, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. I just want to say this project today represents, as has been pointed out repeatedly, a collaborative effort on the part of so many people. And it is to that end that this entity that we created, and what it was about, is to bring communities of different interests together for a common purpose. Some of you may not know it, but the city of Fairfield, I don't know that this has ever been done in this county or perhaps any place. City of Fairfield has $1 million in this project outside their boundaries. Why? Because this Allen Road, Mulhauser Road corridor is going to feed a development corridor east-west into the city of Fairfield. They recognize the importance of this project, and they voted to spend money in Union Township. That idea, that dream of working together through a special purpose district, in this case the Transportation Improvement District, made possible by a governor that keeps his word, a director of a Department of Transportation that sees the vision and carries it out in reality, local governments that step to the plate and do their part, the business sector that joins hands and says we'll be partners. All of that makes it possible for me to say to you today, step to the side and through these plates, we're going to cut the ribbon and open the first interchange in the Southwest Ohio region in 30 years. God bless all of you that played part in this, and let's welcome thousands of jobs. Thank you.